and welcome back. Here we are to continue our discussion and exploration of SwiftUI. In the last video, we set up a function to generate buttons used in our user interface here, okay? And we're trying to recreate this calculator, okay? I'm actually trying to do the one on iOS because the buttons are round there, right? But you know, generally it looks like this, right? So far I've got the top row of buttons here, including the multiply button, right? So now I need to add this row in and the other row, right? And then we'll work on this one, right? So let's add those. So this row here is going to be title, and this will be, what is this, 4, I think, right? And let me copy it. And 5 and 6, and then I think this is minus, right? So let's do the minus button there, and then I need to add another row, right? So the other row is going to be the another H stack, right? So I'll copy all these guys and add a row here. Maybe I'll add a space between those rows, right? And then this row is going to be 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and what is the button at the bottom? Oh, it's a plus sign and then the equals after that, right? So let's do plus, and then let's copy our H stack here. Actually, you know, we could almost generate a function that generates the H stack. Maybe that's too granular. I don't know. So there we go. We got our 16 buttons, and then the bottom row presents a problem because, you know, we only have 3 buttons here, so one of them needs to be wider. Oftentimes it's the equals button, you know, in the calculator here, though, it appears to be the 0. Okay, so what are we going to do there? Let's put in a 0 here, and I'm going to actually just get rid of one of these, and then make this the dot, and then this will be the equal. Okay, so you can see here that the H stack arranges the buttons in a row, but you know, if there's 3 of them, then they all get centered. There's actually some options so you can set how the H stack aligns the elements inside it and what the spacing is. Maybe we'll cover that in a future video. Let's just kind of get the buttons sorted out here first, okay? But that's pretty good. Maybe we need one more H stack at the top for that top row. So let's add that in. Okay, so there's our top row of buttons there. And let me look at the calculator again one more time. So I've got AC, the plus minus, the percent, and the division symbol. So let's see, this is the A. This actually says C, right? So I'll make that clear. And then this is like plus slash minus, plus slash minus, you know. I think there's a symbol for that again, and I didn't see it on the symbols thing, right? But anyway, we'll come back to that. So I'll do percent. Maybe I'll look those up in between the videos and we'll figure them out, right? And then what is this one? This is the division symbol, right? And I think there's one with the dot and on the top and bottom of the line too. But anyway, so that's looking pretty good. So how are we going to handle the size? Let's try and tackle this 0. And again, it could be the equal button is sometimes wider, you know, it could be the 0, you know, and what we'll do, I think, is I'm going to set it up here where we can set the width and height of each button that as we configure it. And then that way we could change which one, you know, it's easier for us to fix it too, right? So, so let's do that. I'm going to go in here and add a width property. And, you know, earlier in class we talked about double and we talked about int. When it comes to anything in the user interface, there's a number type called a CG float. And a CG float, I think it stands for computer graphics float. So I forget what the details are on it, but essentially it's kind of like a double, but it is a CG float. So when we have values here, like width and height, these should be CG floats. So if we set them to double, we might run into an error. So CG float is our choice here. So now all of these guys are telling me like, hey, you didn't include the width, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a default value, and I'll just take this number 70 right here and use it there. And now all these are happy again, okay? So now for the width here, I can just take the width from up here and replace the variable with it, okay? And then let's do another one. Let's do height is a CG float, and let's give it a default value of 70, okay? And then we can take height here and replace this one, okay? And that's, oh yeah, I guess nothing should change, right? It's all the same, right? So that kind of worked for us. Now we can do things like we can decide whether we want to do this button as wider or smaller. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the width here. It's an optional parameter, so I can throw it in there, right? And maybe this one, what if I want to do like 170, right? Oh, I guess I got to resume. For some reason it stopped rendering there. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go, right? So maybe 170 is like a little too wide. And again, like if we really want this to be responsive and work on multiple systems, like different, like iPad or, you know, the small iPhone screen or the large iPhone screen or something, then we'll have to do a little more calculation. But actually using the function here and passing the values in will give us a leg up on that. We could calculate the values inside here, or we could also you know, pass in a value to say what the size should be, right? You know, based on the screen size or something. But anyway, for right now, we're just going to put the hard-coded numbers in. So it looks like 170 is like a little too big. What if we did like 160? Looks a little too big. What if we did 150? Actually, that looks pretty close. It's like a hair wider than it should be. Let's do 145. I don't know. Wow, that's pretty good right there. Yeah, I kind of like that. Maybe it's off by a tiny bit, 140. I think that's pretty close. Okay, so these buttons they have a little bit of space horizontally, but they need a little space vertically, but we'll tackle that later too, okay? So anyway, so now we've got some parameters here, and if for some reason you needed a taller button, you know, we could work that out too. Like we could set the height, right? So if we needed a button that was taller, we have an option for that, okay? So so that's working pretty good. What else can we do here for right now? I think that's good. Let's do one more thing. So we need a way to display the number, the value at the top of the keypad, right? So what would you do here? Let me ask you. If you said add another H stack, you would choose the same answer that I was thinking of, right? Then again, there might be another answer too. I'm going to do another H stack here, and then let's put a text object there. And what's a typical number that people calculate? 3.14 is my favorite every time, right? And let's do one more thing. Let's add some styles here. So let's do font, and we'll do system and size. Let's do 60. Maybe that's a little too big. Let's do like 50. That looks pretty good, right? So let's do that. And then what else here? Let's do frame here. So let's do frame. And I'm going to back up over the, you know, it gave me the parentheses like this. I'm just going to back up over them because I don't have all the parameters memorized. So it's good for me to just use the code hints as much as possible. So in this case for frame, I've got width and height and alignment. Let's choose width and height and alignment there. It also gives us ideal width, max width, min height, right? Let's choose this one. I think that this will actually cover it for us. So let's do, actually, you know, maybe we need that other one because I want this to be as wide as the screen, and we're not quite sure how big that is. So let's try this one. So we'll do min height of 0, ideal width of 100, max width of infinity, and min height of 0, ideal height of, let's do 70, and a max height of infinity, And now, well, actually, wait. Yeah, okay, I'll leave that number. So next, again, like, you might come up with some better values. I'm still I might change my mind on some of these, Anyway, and then we have alignment, okay? So alignment here determines where the text sits within the frame, and the blue box here is showing us where the frame is, okay? So there's a couple choices here. So I'm gonna, for some reason there we go, okay. For some reason it just it paused for a second. So I'm gonna hit the dot here, and then they give me a few choices. So I'm gonna just kind of delete that and then type the dot, and it'll give me the possible choices. So I have bottom, right? Let's see, oh yeah, so now the text is at the bottom. I have, so we're exploring like the alignment options. So there was bottom leading. So leading is on the left side. So you can think like left leading, right? Begins with an L, right? And then let's see here, what do we got? We can do bottom trailing, right? So trailing is on the right side. So TR, like the R might remind you that trailing is on the right side. So this one kind of looks like the best choice there for us, right? But there's also a couple more choices here. So just for fun, we'll take a look at them, right? So I've got top and then top leading and top trailing. So you can imagine that those would put the text at the top, on the left top, or right up top, right? So I'm going to go back to bottom trailing for now. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, but then I feel like the text is bumping right up against the edge of the screen, which is not quite right. So I'm going to put some padding on here. So that doesn't look too bad. Maybe a little too much padding. Let me undo that. I wonder, what if I do this? What if I say padding and then do 20? Yeah, that's too much. Let's do 10. What about 8? Yeah, maybe that looks okay to me, right? Maybe it needs a little more. I don't know. We'll just we'll live with it for a little while and then decide. Okay, so that got us started there and we got pretty far. Let's try one more thing. Well, actually, maybe we'll stop the video here. I think that was pretty good progress right there. So let's stop there, and then after this, we'll kind of work through a couple of problems, and you can try these on your own. So the next problem that we need to solve is how to color the buttons differently. So if we look at the original calculator app, it looks like this. I'd like to have a row of orange buttons or red or some other color to tell me that they're actions that you can take or operators, right? And then the gray ones will be the numbers. And then these dark gray ones up here will be the special actions, right? Okay. So, so you can try and do that. And then the other thing is to set the background color for the whole thing. And that's a little tricky. So I'm going to do that for sure in a video to show you how to do that. Essentially, the idea here is that we'll wrap this V stack in a Z stack, and then we'll set the background color on the Z stack, okay? So give that a try on your own, and then we'll continue and try and wrap this up in maybe one